Hi, I'm Melody. I am the mother to Elijah Mainville. He was diagnosed on November 5th, 2010 with stage 4 cancer, neuroblastoma, a rare child cancer disease that he grew in his neck in a span of 3 hours. His lymph node had inflamed into this neuroblastoma. I'm sitting at the hospital, so I may get interrupted in the middle of me talking, which is okay. I'd like to see you guys see every detail of what we go through here at the hospital. Now, since November all the way till last month, and that's my son talking right now, up until last month, we had 6 rounds of chemotherapy, pretty high dosages, and then after 6 months and exclusive extreme tests, we found that there is no evidence of any neuroblastoma anywhere in his body. Now, we have to finish protocol, and we also have to finish out what we started. We want to make sure that there is nothing in his body. And the reason why after 6 months that it showed no evidence is because of God. I believe in Jesus Christ and dying on the cross, and his blood was shed for our healings, for our pains, for anything that we have to go through. And he did that for us, and he did that for my son. So with a lot of community prayer, world-like prayer, there's a lot of people out there that have been praying for Elijah. Within a span of 6 months, we found that there is no evidence of cancer at all in his body. Now, we need to be wise and be smart that we need to finish out this protocol and do what we need to do. I am going to start from day 1 and day 2. Yesterday was day 1 on May 1st. Yesterday was May 2nd, excuse me. And then today's May 3rd. So day 1 was on May 2nd. Today will be the second day for his stem cell infusion. And the stem cell infusion is the same thing as a bone marrow transplant, but a little different. I know that sounds funny, but what a stem cell infusion is, excuse me, he hit his head. Come here. Come here. Fix your wheel right there. See, it's under the wheel. Excuse me 1 second. I need you to sit on the bed so I can finish this video while not with me. So what the stem cell infusion is, they had removed his own stem cells and found the good ones, the good white blood and red blood cells, and they froze it after they had removed it, and they did this twice to make sure they got a good clean specimen. And then what's going to happen is after 6 days of chemo that we had just started, when his white blood cells are down, he is going to be injected with his stem cells, and he's going to get 2 transplants. Now my husband and I agreed to sign my son up for research, and what they do is they take a little extra blood when they draw blood, or a little extra bone marrow when they do the bone marrow surgery biopsies, and they take that and they use it for research. We found that it would benefit other children if we did this, so I decided to have them continue the research during this. So what happened is because he's in research, they want to know if 1 bone marrow stem cell infusion would work, or 2 would work better than 1. So right now Elijah has been randomized to 2 transplants, and we will be here for a good 3 months. It is May 2nd today, or May 3rd. I'm getting all the dates off. It is May 3rd today, and I will be keeping updated every day, so that way you guys can see the miracles that happen with my son Elijah. There's still a lot of people praying for the stem cell, and one of the number one things for day number 1 was yesterday all we did was hang out all day. They did some blood tests, they did some swabs up his nose, just to make sure that he's not sick. So they did that. We hung out all day yesterday here at the hospital. He was on a hydration for 24 hours. They had just started today. It's called Thiotepa chemo, and it's on very high dosage. You guys can Google what Thiotepa is. It's Thiotepa, and Thiotepa causes skin irritation and rashes. And I had specifically asked my pastor and those who are fasting and praying for my son if they could pray specifically against the rashes for this specific chemo.
Where do you pencil and take the pointer out?
It's over there on the kitchen sink. See it? Anyway, so instead of typing it out, I wanted to show what God can do, and to give. It's not just to put on a show or anything. This is to give hope to others and uplift your faith a little bit, to know that with God, all things are possible. And so I'm going to be doing the next 3 months a video blog to keep a journal on how Elijah's doing, from our trials, our upsets, our downs, and also our victories that we go through in this battle that we're fighting. So once again, Elijah Mainville, who is 3, he will be 4 on May 10th, was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, stage 4 cancer, and after 6 months we found that there was no evidence. There was, in his bone marrow from head to toe, it was covered in 90% of cancerous tumors in his bone marrow. Okay? Then his primary tumor in his neck, like I had mentioned before, had a ton of lymph nodes in his neck, and those had grown within a span of 3 hours and just kept on growing, and that's how we found his main cancer, his tumor. And then we also found they also found a tumor sitting in his skull bone. There was a quarter of it resting on top of his skull, and then 3/4 of it resting on the bottom. So it was kind of like growing into the bone, and it was sitting kind of on top of the brain. That was the main one I was really concerned about. So after 3 months, the bone marrow scan came back clear after just 3 months of chemo. And then after 6 months, we found that they couldn't find anything in his skull. It was all scar tissue, and then his neck was wiped clean. Let me tell you something about his neck. His neck, we found, as far as the x-rays were showing, that every nerve was surrounded by a tumor. Every tumor that was in his neck wrapped itself around the carotid artery and 5 other different kinds of nerves. Our biggest main concern was that he was going to have brain damage or facial damage or any kind of neck damage in here, because when the doctor was concerned about going in, could rupture the artery or mess with the nerves. So there went out a lot of prayer. And when the doctor went in, he said he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that when he went in, all he saw was all the tumors. They have been removed from every nerve, and all he was able to do is just sweep them right out. Now let me tell you, that was God. God swept or took off every tumor off of every nerve and and the carotid artery, and they were just sitting there. And quote unquote, the doctor had said it was a piece of cake, and he just swept it all clean. And then we found out that he was basically cancer-free in his neck. So anyway, we're on day 2 of this stem cell infusion. We're going to have to deal with chemo, and we're going to be watching closely on Elijah's situation with these rashes and how his reaction is with this chemo and what happens with bone marrow transplants, aka stem cell infusions. And the blessing is that it's his own stem cell. So this is exciting. It's going to be a new life, and God has something truly great and in store for my son and for our family. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.